Pericolo nemico avvistato.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Pixel, and today on the Sapphire Tech YouTube channel we are going to be taking a look at the performance of a medley of games running on the SAPPHIRE PULSE RX Vega 56. Now, over the past few months we have noticed more and more people in the comment section asking for the 1440p results, and with 1080p almost being a foregone conclusion at this point, the 1440p results are what we're going to be focused on today. This video will also be uploaded at 1440p, and the gameplay that you are watching has all been recorded via a capture card, meaning that the performance that you see is not being influenced by any third-party software. In the top left you'll also be able to see the performance overlay and most importantly the frames per second counter. The games that we're going to be taking a look at today are Battlefield 1, Star Wars Battlefront II, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and Prey. So let's do this. So the first game that we're going to be taking a look at today is Battlefield 1 running on the 1440p Ultra preset. Now, as you can tell by the gameplay in the background, this game looks absolutely gorgeous. And as you can tell by the performance numbers in the top left, it performs flawlessly as well. We're actually averaging between 90 and 110 frames per second at almost all times. Obviously this can fluctuate a little bit depending on what's going on screen, what map you're on, what mode you're on. But I can honestly say in about 7 or 8 hours of testing, I don't remember the game ever dropping below the 60 FPS mark, which is a great indicator of the kind of experience you can be expecting when playing this game at 1440p at ultra settings on a Vega 56 graphics card. This actually brings me onto a little bit of a side point, and that side point is of FreeSync displays. Now, if you're actually watching this video because you're thinking about making a leap up to 1440p with a new monitor and a new graphics card, then I have to recommend that you pick up a FreeSync enabled display along with the graphics card, because with FreeSync, what you're going to be able to do is have your monitor match the refresh rate of your graphics card or the frames per second that your graphics card is producing, and that will give you buttery smooth gameplay at basically any frame rate below the maximum refresh rate of the monitor. As you can see, we are consistently getting more than 60 frames per second, but we're not still hitting that 144 FPS mark, which would be the maximum refresh rate of the majority of 1440p displays. So if you are going to get this alongside a monitor, then make sure you pick up a FreeSync display, and that will give you the best experience possible. Okay, so moving on to the second game, we're going to be taking a look at Star Wars Battlefront 2 running on the 1440p Ultra preset. Now, obviously, this is actually developed by the same guys and it's on the same engine as Battlefield 1, so you would expect some similarities, and to be honest, they are there. The FPS is on average slightly lower than Battlefield 1, probably by about 5 to 10 frames per second. We're actually hovering around the 80 to 100 FPS mark at most times. However, that does fluctuate quite heavily based on where you are in the game, because there's actually a lot more variance than what we see in Battlefield 1. For instance, if you're up in the skies fighting in the Starfighter game mode, your FPS is going to be around the 120 to the 150 mark, compared to if you're down on the jungle floor where you're looking around the 70, 80 and even 90 to 100 mark, depending on what's going on screen. But overall, once again, this is a great showing for the Frostbite engine and for the SAPPHIRE PULSE RX Vega 56. Great performance, great visuals, what more can you ask for? So moving on to our third game, we're going to be taking a look at PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and to be honest, this is where things get a little bit more complicated. At 1440p at the Ultra settings preset, we landed just shy of our 60 FPS target and hit what would be an average in the high 50s. Once again, if you're going to be running this on a FreeSync display, I would argue that you're going to really struggle to be able to notice the difference when the numbers are so close. And by dropping the settings down from the Ultra to the High preset, we did manage to hold an average between 60 and 70 FPS without a problem, and the visual difference was only very small. You see, where things get really interesting is when you actually start to drop down them graphical settings a little bit and you start to notice your frame rate absolutely rocket up to 110 and 120 FPS averages at 1440p, which is hella impressive. To be honest, I was actually pleasantly surprised by the performance in Battlegrounds, as I was not expecting to have quite as much headroom to play with. And that headroom allows you to actually find that nice balance between performance and visuals that suit your personal preferences. Up next we have Prey, which is running on the CryEngine, and I'm happy to be able to report that maintaining a frame rate above 60 FPS at ultra settings was absolutely no problem. In fact, the only time that the graphics card was even pressured was when looking into some of these more complex looking glass displays, which are these really cool looking portal effect windows which are basically rendering a map within a map, which is a hell of a lot for a graphics card and a CPU to do. Once again, very impressive visuals to match the very impressive performance, and I will be more than happy to play through this game once again at 1440p using the Ultra preset on this graphics card. I'm impressed, guys. While recording footage for this video, I found myself replaying big chunks of the game again just to experience it one more time. I remember floating around in space and exploring just felt beautiful, and the frame rate was steady and stable. Even getting into fights with some of the more complicated monsters just felt awesome, and the frame rate never let me down. This game performs flawlessly on this graphics card, and there's nothing more to say about it really. Okay guys, so I was only actually supposed to be covering those 4 games today. However, there is a new game on the PC which is extremely popular, possibly going to be one of the most popular PC games ever. I'm playing it a lot, and I'm guessing that a lot of you guys out there would love to see the performance numbers on it, and that game is Fortnite. Now, this time around, I'm actually going to be using the default high preset at 1440p because unfortunately, Fortnite at epic settings is very taxing, and I personally don't believe that the performance impact is worth the actual added visual clarity. I will say at high settings we maintained 60 FPS with absolutely no problems, and the game looked gorgeous. Now, I also want to point out that playing at 1440p in a Battle Royale game can actually be quite a big advantage because it gives you that visual clarity at extreme ranges, something that 1080p just does not do in comparison. Now, personally, I'm around 750 wins into Fortnite, which is an awful lot to be honest. I'm actually quite proficient at the game and I enjoy it a lot as well. What I can tell you is that I play at 1440p, and I can understand why a lot of new players are going to want to make that jump up to 1440p in order to get that competitive advantage where possible. Now, obviously you don't want low frame rates and a high resolution over a high frame rate if you're playing a competitive game. However, this is where this card really stands out, because when I was actually not recording for the video, I was just playing with a friend and I had the recording on. I was actually playing Fortnite at around 144 frames per second locked, because I actually prefer a stable frame rate over a variable one. And I have to be honest, this card had absolutely no issues with maintaining 104 FPS on the lower settings, and it played the game flawlessly. And that is the reason why I wanted to include Fortnite into this video. Okay guys, so with all that out of the way, that is going to be me done for today. I have to say that I'm very impressed with the SAPPHIRE PULSE RX Vega 56, and I hope that you found this video helpful at least in some small way, and if you have, don't forget to hit that like button. If you're also new around here, what about considering slapping that subscribe button to subscribe to the Sapphire Tech YouTube channel? If you've got any questions or feedback, be sure to leave them in the comment section below this video. And finally, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again very soon in the next one. So until then, bye bye.